All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
Rightio legends, Chaos Chronicles, and we're back with another video. So today I thought about another few series we could do, and I kind of thought of a good one, and it will be on the duty of care breaches that I think were the greatest ones that I've seen, and I'm going to do some videos on them, and then I'd like to, you guys, if you could let me know in the comment section what you think of these duty of care. So a duty of care is like, so when everyone goes to prison, they've got a duty of care. So the prison officers in the prison has a duty of care to make sure that you're okay and that, you know, your duty of care is upheld or whatnot. So that's what duty of care is. And so, yeah, I'm going to do a series on the greatest duty of care breaches, I believe, that I've seen. And so the first one I'm going to do is this one happened when I was at MRC in the cottages there. So if you guys are unaware of what cottages are, so in some prisons, mainly like B rating prisons have cottages, but at MRC, which is a maximum, they do have cottage living there. So they have cottages which only have 8 people in them. So 4 people live up the top tier and 4 people live down the bottom tier. And you have, like, there's 2 bathrooms, so 2 people share a bathroom up the top, and 2 people, like, there's 2 bathrooms on each floor, so, you know, a bathroom for each 2 people. And they are not supervised 24/7 like a normal unit. There's like a group of screws that will look after the cottages, but you aren't getting supervised by screws 24/7 like you're in the unit. You're in them cottages by yourselves. You get to order your own meals from like Woolies and stuff like that. You get to order and cook your own meals. And so anyway, it's like a bit of a privilege, I'll say, for people to live in the cottages. And yeah, so this breach happened. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning one night, and we were all in bed. Now, you don't have a set bedtime in cottages. So, like, the front door of the cottage, which is basically like a house, it's got a lounge room, a kitchen, 2 bathrooms, and 4 cells. And so those cell doors don't get locked at night time. Just the front door of the cottage gets locked. And so you can sleep on the couch if you want, watching TV and whatnot. So I remember, yeah, this was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were banging on like my neighbour's door, but in my same cottage. And they were telling him, which is pretty horrendous, that they just had a phone call that his wife had been erded with the M on the end. So she was unalived, and at that stage, the only information he was given is that the bloke is having a standoff with the police. His wife's already dead, and his children are literally getting tortured. So the guy was charged with like using Lynx spray deodorant and a flame on the kids' feet. Pretty brutal stuff. And so they told this guy and said that there's nothing else that we can do. We can give you this clock radio here so you can listen to it on the radio. They were trying to tell him they're pretty sure it's not all over the TV, so we won't be able to watch it on the TV. And so let out is not until 8 o'clock in the morning. So this poor guy was literally sitting there watching this, which ended up being on the news. So watching it on the news and listening to it all over the radio, this guy was having a standoff with the police. Now, what makes this worse is that this was one of this guy's closest friends that he had when he was locked up. Now, this guy needed a parole address, and as I'm sure I've explained this before, you cannot get parole unless you are getting parole to an address where someone doesn't have a criminal record or someone who lives in that house doesn't have a criminal record. So my mate said that his other mate could go stay with his wife and his children because she had no criminal record, and therefore he would be able to get parole to that address. Now, it's believed after, obviously, we spoke about this and stuff, and it's believed that this guy was having some kind of a relationship with my mate's girlfriend. They were kind of seeing each other or whatnot. And for whatever reason, he's got jealous and started to have, I think the ice was definitely involved. And anyway, he's had a psychotic turn, and he has then, unalived his wife, and then knew that he was about to get in trouble for it, and then had to stand off with the police. But while he was having the standoff with the police, he was like making threats that he's torturing the kids, don't come in and get me, rah, rah, rah. So my poor mates had to sit there and watch this for like 7 hours on the TV, and then to find out in the morning that eventually his wife had been unalived, and his kids were being tortured. Now, what they did to this guy after that was pretty brutal as well. So this poor guy, I won't say his name because, like, it's just, I just don't do that. But anyway, they locked this guy down. So this guy was basically slotted from that next morning onwards until the jail figured out what was going on. So this guy couldn't make any phone calls. Couldn't get his friends to make phone calls to his family. Couldn't get any of that done because they locked him down for his own duty of care, because they thought that he might try and do something stupid, which you can't blame the guy. Like, he's literally just found out that his wife's been unalived and his kids have been tortured. Like, I don't know what I'd be doing in that scenario, but I know what I would definitely be trying my absolute hardest to do whatever I can to at least try and talk to my people on the phone. Now, this is where I think the duty of care was wrong. So, like, I don't believe that they should have woke this guy up in the middle of the night, and they shouldn't have told him that his wife had already been unalived when they weren't 100% sure of the story themselves. And they definitely shouldn't have woke him up at 1 o'clock in the morning and said that we're not going to be able to tell you anything. We can't give you a phone or anything like that until 8 o'clock. So I think that's the duty of care there. They shouldn't have went in and told this guy. He had 8 hours, 7 hours to sit in there and try and think about to do something stupid. I know I would have been thinking about doing something stupid, and I just think that they could have dealt with that a lot differently. Now, especially because they locked him down straight away as soon as the doors opened, so he couldn't get on the phone, couldn't call his mum, couldn't call his people, anyone he knew that knew about what was going on from the outside. He couldn't do none of that. And so then I believe he was locked down for 3 days. And can you imagine the torture that would have been on that poor guy, having to wait there for 3 days? No doubt he was locked down in his cell too. So he wasn't put in the slot. He was locked down in his cell. So he did have a TV in there. So he would have been watching all this unfold on the news and wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. Now, I think this is a really, really bad duty of care. Like, that guy could have unalived himself in that time, could have unalived other people in that time, because not thinking straight from what just happened to his wife and children. And I think this is one of the greatest breaches of duty of care that I've ever heard of. And I try and put myself in that kind of position and think, what I would do in that time. And I know I would have definitely, so I would have definitely been made sure that I could have got my hands on a phone. Even though there's no phones inside the cottages, I would have definitely banged up. I would have lit my cell on fire. I would have done whatever I can to make sure that these guys at least got me a phone call, or at least made a phone call to my people themselves, so they can at least let him know what's going on from a different perspective, rather than, saying, other than just saying, oh, well, your wife's been unalived and your children have been tortured. Yeah, I think that would be that was the totally wrong thing to do. And moving forward, what could they do to change that? Well, I suggest that, there was a good chance he wasn't going to be watching that on the TV or whatever himself. So moving forward, I don't think they should have said anything to him until the morning, and should have just said something like, we've heard some really bad stuff that's happened with your wife and your children, I think you need to make some phone calls for yourself and figure out what's going on. We're hearing this, this, and this. And I think that that's the way that it should have been done, rather than letting this guy stew in his own thoughts for 7 hours until the doors were cracked and then they locked him down anyway. So I think, I think that in that duty of care, they definitely shouldn't have told him until the morning, and then at least let him try and do whatever he can to try and, rectify that himself, rather than sitting there and stewing on his own thoughts and doing his own head in. I think that was, really, really wrong. And I'll leave it there, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section. So we are going to do a series on some of the greatest breaches of the duty of care that I've seen. And I really want everyone to get involved in this comment section. I reckon, it would really, really help, and I'd really, really appreciate it. And also, like always, if you guys have got any suggestions about this prison stuff or whatever, my life that I've talked about already that you'd want to hear more about, then let me know in the comment section. And like I always say, I'll do my utmost best to answer that with a video. Now, obviously, I can't answer all questions with a video, but I do my best to answer as many as I can. And a lot of them have gone down on the videos to-do list this week. So, chuck them in there in the comment section. I'll do my utmost best to make a vid for you. I've been the Chaos Chronicles. And if you don't want to have to be dealing with none of this duty of care shit, like, can you imagine, like, doing your time, you're cruising along, everything's going good, and then you have to find out some of this stuff? If you don't want to have to be dealing with none of this stuff, don't do drugs and crime, and you won't end up in prison. It's as simple as that. I've been the Chaos Chronicles. We out.